Welcome to the Better Business, Better Life podcast. Terry DuPont is the founder of DuPont Advisory Group, a group dedicated to providing comprehensive services to successful business owners, medical, and other professionals. Terry has top-of-the-table status in the prestigious International $1 Million Roundtable, placing him among the top 0.1% of all professional financial advisors in the world. Terry's philosophy is, I've learned that I grow and prosper more by focusing on the success of others, rather than fretting over my own. Terry is a certified financial professional with the Institute of Financial Wellness, an advisor for the Power of Zero Taxes in Retirement, chartered retirement plans specialist, certified wealth preservation planner, and certified philanthropic developer. On the podcast, Terry brings together experts in their field who have succeeded in building their business to share their secrets with you. And now, here's your host, Terry DuPont.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's podcast of Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success. And I'm your host, Terry DuPont. Today, we're honored to have Todd Kotler and Jamie Haren with us. They are both attorneys with Arnold, Gruber, and Haren, located in Canton, Ohio. Welcome to the show, Todd and Jamie.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you so much for having us today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So let me ask you, can you each of you tell me a little bit about yourselves and why you started your career in law?
I have always liked standing up for something. And I believe just in general that people need good advice during times of stress and during times when they're emotionally charged. I believe the law still can provide that for people. And I believe that I'm one of those folks who can actually give that kind of good advice and good representation to people when they're in these emotionally charged times. That's why I got it. That's why I initially got into it.
Okay. Jamie?
So mine's much more practical than that. My parents will tell you that I like to argue when I was little, and I think that's every attorney's story. But I got into so I always knew this is what I was going to do. I was going to go to law school and become an attorney. But I got into the area. I do a lot of the transactional work for the firm, and that includes estate planning. And the reason I started in that area was because my grandmother had passed away and my mom was administering her estate, and she was saying, this attorney didn't do this, and we're waiting on this thing, and all of these things that were going wrong. And I thought, I could do better than that. I could definitely do a better job than that. So that's why I started in this area. It's morphed into a lot of different things and doing a lot of different things in different areas. And now the reason I keep pushing in those areas and I continue to practice in those areas is because I really to create a positive experience for our clients. Todd does all the DR work in our firm, all the domestic relations and the family law stuff in our firm. So he is seeing people when they're most vulnerable, and I'm seeing people when they're planning, and sometimes they're going through the most vulnerable event that can happen in their life when someone passes away. But if I can make that a positive experience, then that's a good thing. We can give our clients some information, then that's a good thing. So they're coming away with a positive experience. That's why I really like the areas that I'm involved in.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. And you can share as you want, and I'll throw out the question, but what's the biggest challenge that either one of you might have faced thus far?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. And I bet it's completely opposite for both of us. And I'm sorry, say that again. The biggest challenge that we face with our clients or
in your career? Yeah.
In our career. Okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first because I want to pick the right story.
Okay. And I think that this could be an answer in different areas of what we do because we work with clients, but then I'm the managing partner of our firm and took over that position in 2022, it's different. Managing clients and managing the firm are completely different. And they're two sides of a career. We not only have to be good advisors for our clients, but we have to be business people. And the way our firm is structured, our attorneys are business people. They're in charge of their own practice. They're very entrepreneurial. So I would say the biggest challenge for me from a client standpoint in general is to convey the right information in a way that's easily digestible. And it took me a long time to figure out how to do that and how to present that to clients in such a way that they walk away going, okay, now I understand. So that was a big challenge. But then from managing the firm and being a business person, that's taking over that position is a transition in and of itself. And that's another big challenge.
And biggest challenge for me is I once had a client that wanted to deploy scorched earth plan in a domestic relations case, in a divorce case, where I believed it was entirely unnecessary. Every once in a while, you'll have an opposing party. It was either going to be somebody's husband, somebody's wife, somebody's mother, or somebody's father. And every once in a while, you'll get somebody who's truly a bad actor. But I had one instance where the further I got into it, the more I was convinced it was actually my client who was being the bad act and trying to render good advice and not step over an ethical line where I was conducting the case in a way that would be not just damaging to my client, but damaging possibly to his kids. That was probably the biggest challenge I've ever had.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because we're not just hired guns. I'm not just there to simply say, okay, boss, whatever you say.
Yeah. You still hold a fiduciary responsibility outside of that client as it relates to other people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a duty to be forthright to the court. They call it the candor to the tribunal.
Mhm.
And I can't put something to the court that I know is not true. We're disingenuous.
Okay. How did each of you become experts in your specific fields of law?
Trial by fire.
Yeah, I was saying, you keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So we have 3 law students and we have one that passed the bar. She's sworn in. We're so proud of her. Yeah. And
She's a week old as an attorney.
Yeah. And so she's going to go through this process of, like I said, trial by fire. That's how you learn. You learn by doing, you learn by making mistakes. And we call that experience. I mean, that whole thing, you
Wisdom.
probably went through the exact same process any professional advisor does, where you're learning how, and it's a communication thing. I'm convinced it's a communication thing, how we communicate with our clients in the best way possible, where it's easy to understand, and then they can take that with them and repeat it and then carry it forward.
Yeah, I would say tongue in cheek, it was a lot of Mr. Gruber looking at my work and saying, so why did you make that choice, Todd?
Then you have to think about it long and hard, right?
Yeah. And it truly is that. And we're trained to learn how to think for ourselves. When you graduate from law school, you have a license to learn how to practice. You don't learn how to practice in law school. You don't learn all these practical matters. So when we're training, and the way I had learned was going in and asking a question, and the first words out of a senior attorney's mouth is, what do you think? What do you think the answer is? And that's how I've been training then, all of our associates. And that's how I got to be an expert in my field, was just trial by fire.
Mhm.
And I really like the areas of practice that I'm in. I can help a lot of people.
Which is, and as it relates to you, that'd be estate planning.
Yeah. So estate planning, corporate work. So I tell clients I can handle their business from startup to succession plan, anything in between, mergers and acquisitions, and then anything and everything to do with real estate. Our firm is a corporate law firm, and we can handle, it's easier to say what we don't do. We don't do bankruptcy, debtor bankruptcy. We don't do criminal work. Everything else we can handle.
Okay.
And I started off as a generalist and slowly just started building up more and more of my practice within family law and a boutique practice in special education law. My son is on the autistic spectrum, so that was definitely a trial by fire experience, and I learned it because I had to first as an advocate for my own kid for several years, and realizing how little other attorneys really knew about special education law. I realized, oh wow, I know something that other people don't, which I suppose makes one an expert.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's why you're
it's
here.
it's one of those things that kind of gets conferred on you when you look around and realize you simply know more than others in the area.
Mhm. Now, are you still working in the education law and advocating for children's rights? Is that
Yes.
a big part of your practice?
It's not a huge part, but it's significant. It's probably about 10 to 20% of my practice. And then I also do work as a guardian ad litem,
Okay.
which is very directly advocating for the rights of kids.
I understand. Okay. Excellent. What is something that each of you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Oh gosh. That oh, I could write a book, I think. And I tell all of our law clerks and our new associates this, that you go into law school and you graduate, you pass the bar and you think, I'm an attorney. I just have to put my name outside the door and clients will come flocking. They don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably have the same exact experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They don't. It's you have to get out there and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you don't like being in groups, if you don't like small talk, if you don't like starting conversations, you have to get out there and do those things because you have to create relationships. So it's all about relationships. And the only way to create those is to get up. Todd does not have this problem. He is so good at this. But I think if I didn't know that when I started, I really didn't.
A couple of additional thoughts. One, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but taking us, we take the work seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously. So that my big advice to any young professional is don't be afraid to deflate your ego just a little bit. You can take your work seriously, but you can't take yourself seriously. Nobody wants to talk to that guy or gal or hire them. The other thing that best piece of advice I ever got from a law professor, my property professor, is the late Howard Denmark of blessed memory, said to me one time, just a random thought after class, as I was clerking for the city of Akron at the time, complaining about something. And he said to me, Kotler, remember, every client who walks into your office is going to be the hero of their very own personal epic.
Yeah, that's true.
And I heard it registered with me, but I didn't realize until about 5 years in how true that was. So possibly in all of the law school experience, it was probably the best practical advice I ever got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that translates into you have to take care of each client because they're the thing that is most important to them is the thing that you're working on.
And so there's no, and I'll tell clients if I have to limit my time for some reason, I'll never say that there's a bigger fish to fry. I say there's another fish I have to fry, and your stuff is very important to me, but this other matter is coming to trial tomorrow, or the next hearing is in a half hour, and I have to be prepared for that one. So it's your stuff is important. I simply have something that's more urgent at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned the same thing at an early age, and I learned it as people don't care how much until they know how much you care. And I think that's what you're saying. And it's so true.
Wait, I'm
Always right.
I'm writing that one down. I'm stealing it, and I may or may not give you attribution.
Yeah, I stole it myself, quite frankly, or at least borrowed it. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, those relationships are so important.
that's true. That's true. Can you discuss maybe a particularly challenging decision you had to make in a leadership capacity and how you navigated it?
Yeah. Yeah, I can. We've been through a very big transition. We were both in practice together. When did you start with us?
2014. So we've been practicing together for about 7 years when you entered your discussions with.
Yeah. So we've been practicing together for 7 years, and I had started discussing a succession plan for one of our attorneys. We were a firm of 4 attorneys at the time. Now, the question became, this attorney that we were entering into discussions with, this attorney does so much. He's so good. Anything and everything to do with real estate and construction defense. So not only the transactional stuff that I do, but it's not litigation, but it's arbitration. So it's just a private, I don't know if you're familiar with arbitration. It's a private litigation of disputes, and it's mostly construction defense.
And he's the expert in the county. He is to the point that for years prior to my joining this firm and to this date, he and Jamie serve as counsel for our local area realtors board. It's called the Stark Trumbull Area Realtors. So they provide the guidance for the professional association for realtors in 3 counties?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm going to take over this firm as managing partner, but there's only 4 of us. How do we effectively transition the workload when there's only 4 of us? We need to be able to serve our clients in the best way possible. So how do we do that? So we then pretty quickly, after I took over as managing partner, started to approach other firms about merging together, because we saw that younger attorneys coming out of law school, we needed to have, I think, a bigger offering from our firm structure standpoint for benefits, for things like that. And we couldn't do that as a 4-attorney firm, but also keeping our entrepreneurial goals.
Mhm.
Like I said, our attorneys are very entrepreneurial. You're in charge of your own destiny.
We only kill.
Exactly. And I know we're not the only firm that does that, but it was pretty unique at the time. So we merged with the former Arnold and Associates, now we're Arnold, Gruber Haren. And so we merged together, and we've been through a very intense period of growth since that time. And facing the decision of, how do we service our clients? How do we do this in the best way possible? Okay, let's look at merging so we can grow our support system, particularly in this litigation arbitration area. How do we accomplish that? What are we going to take from this firm? What are we going to take from that firm? How do we mesh these 2 firms together? My leadership skills have definitely been tested, and there's no right or wrong. Maybe I'm mostly wrong. I'm not sure, but it's definitely been a test, and it's been a good one so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed having additional attorneys under us and join us, and the additional services we can provide to our clients. And we've really built a great core of staff and attorneys at this firm now.
Okay. I want to take that another step with you, Jamie, and then I have another specific question for you, Todd. Okay. Jamie, as I read my notes here, looks like you've completed leadership programs such as Stark County Spotlight Program and Ohio State Bar Association Leadership Program.
Yep.
How have these 2 programs specifically influenced your approach to leadership and community engagement?
Okay. Great question. And I would say the biggest takeaway from those programs, there's a lot of personality assessments with those programs. It's probably standard across any leadership program anywhere, but that's huge. And there's a reason why it's in any leadership program, because I take a lot of my leadership skills from my dad too. And he was the president of his company before it was sold. And he always said, you got to find the right tool for the right job. So you got to find the right person for the right job.
Yeah.
How do you do that? These personality assessments are very key. And I think I can do that kind of internally now at this point. But the biggest takeaway for me was finding the right person, putting them in the right spot with their skill set, their strengths, putting them in the right spot. Maybe it's a different practice area. Maybe if they have a family, finding their strengths and their determination to work outside of unconventional hours. It's using their strengths and putting them in the right position to use those strengths has been, I think, the biggest takeaway and the most important thing as we merged.
Mhm.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Todd, your volunteer work
Mhm.
looks like it spans diverse areas like community theater and boards for youth organizations. How do
Yes.
these experiences complement or influence your legal work and or advocacy work?
That's another great question. Obviously, one would think that doing theater really would translate into the courtroom, and it would if I did a lot of the trial work. I do not. Mostly, I wind up doing stuff that it's practicing to the bench. Only I'm talking to a court. In that respect, I actually have to restrain myself some because though no judge, when he simply has two attorneys before them, wants to see somebody bloviating in front of him. But working with the different volunteer groups that I have put time into exposes me to different people. And that's what my practice is, right? I have represented multimillionaires in divorces, and I have represented people who are renting and living paycheck to paycheck. And they all need good advice and competent representation. And frankly, some of my volunteer work is it's just fun. There's a certain amount of joy being able to meet with other people, give back, watching light bulb moments for kids happen as they learn a new skill. Probably one of the best events I ever had was watching another volunteer who will remain nameless, but at a Boy Scout camp. We were there with a troop. One of the kids in this troop had cut themselves. So he and several other scouts come running up to us. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? My friend, just as calmly as possible, says to the group of them, how many of you have your first aid merit badges? Several hands go up. Starts asking him another number of different questions. What do we do if we have a cut? Okay, we need to raise it, put up direct pressure. And he didn't lift a hand and just talk this group of scouts through treating the wound of their fellow scout just by asking a series of questions.
That's how we train.
That's exactly how we train. That's the example I give. At the end of the week, I don't know where somebody found it, but somebody found a merit badge or something like a merit badge with a coffee cup on it that we gave to him.
That's funny. So, what is something that each of you might share with each and every client?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I have a very snarky answer, but I won't say it. Something we share with each and every client from this.
You like to share?
What's that?
That you try to or like to share with each client?
Yeah. For me, educating clients is big. It's huge because, again, I want them to be comfortable, but I always tell clients, I want you to sign these documents, these wills and trusts and things like that, because they're good for you.
Yes.
But I want you to understand why you're signing it, or you be comfortable with what you're signing. Because if you're not, then you're going to just walk away and go, I don't know what just happened. And that's not a good position or a feeling for clients. So something I share with each and every estate planning client that comes in is, here's the different estate planning options. I explain them in plain English. When they come in to sign the documents, we go through them in plain English. I go through step by step my trusts, and we try to educate the clients as much as possible while we're there. The other thing that we share with our clients each and every time, you've probably seen those big estate planning binders. They're big and leather, and we put the information in a binder for the client. We do that too, but our instructions for how to fund trusts or what to do going forward are very plain English.
Mhm.
And that's something we always share with those estate planning clients, because again, I just want them to be comfortable.
And in that respect, that's not just education for the client, that's education really for the client's successor, especially with estate planning. I know that you're looking not just to educate those folks, but the people who are going to then have to administer the estate one day,
Oh, yeah.
who may not even be the client, but the beneficiaries. In my practice, again, education is key. And part of the education is legal education, and then part of it's just practical education of what to expect with the process, what to expect in terms of the emotion in dealing with the other parent. So many times I have people come to me with custody cases. So part of what I'm trying to help them learn how to do is shift from being a parenting partner with somebody with whom you're intimate to the much more business-like relationship you're going to need to have for the next 10 to 15 years while you're raising a kid. The other thing that I tried to share with them is that the more you can put into your co-parenting relationship in terms of understanding and genuinely working with the other parent, the less you're going to need me in the future. Ideally, I've done my best work if I make myself obsolete.
Right.
Okay.
And
Right. And it's the same thing with estate planning.
Yeah.
You know, I have clients that come in after someone passes and they have a trust and there's only a life insurance policy at that point. And I'm going, let me know if you have any questions on how to fill out this paperwork. I will help you and we'll notarize it all. But sometimes that's the only thing we need to do. But if we've done the planning, then they don't need a lot of me. They need me to help them through that, but they don't need a lot of me.
Right.
Whereas probates take forever and they're very expensive and they're very stressful.
it's a
and
slog.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's excellent. How do you perceive the legal landscape evolving, and what measures have you taken or plan to implement to ensure your firm remains competitive and adaptive?
Yeah. I can think of two things right off the
Go
bat.
for it.
Okay. First is estate taxes. Those are going down. The
Yeah,
exemption stuff
if they've
is
got to.
they have to be nerdy about it, right?
You
But
mean, you mean the exclusion amount?
yeah, the exclusion amount is going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it has to.
Firm needs the money.
Exactly right. Oh my gosh, that's exactly right. That's what I tell all my clients is that not only will the government want them to go down, but they have to, because they need the money. And we're going to see the largest transfer of wealth that we've ever seen. So that's where it's going to come from, part of where it's going to come from. So that's one thing. We are constantly monitoring discussions in Congress, those bills, those things. We got email blasts, letters to our clients, informing them of the changes. Excuse me, because we have some clients that do not have email. So we work with all different kinds of methods of communication. The second thing that's going to change, AI, huge game changer. It's something that we have our law clerks working on. How do we implement AI to stay relevant? How do we implement AI to assist, not only don't replace us, still need us, but assist in our practice to make us even more efficient than we already are.
It's a tool. It's every other tool.
Correct. And we don't want to not have the right tool for the job. We want to have the right tool for the job. And we want to be able to utilize it to help our practice. And And really, it's helping our clients. That's what our primary focus is. Helping
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Yeah.
I have two more things. One is what we're doing right here. One of the big outgrowths of the pandemic is the ability to occasionally, especially with administrative hearing officers, to do hearings by Zoom or to do it by some kind of video conferencing. That I think is huge. And I think we're going to continue to see that, even if there's a certain amount of trial work that's going to continue to happen in courtrooms in front of somebody in a robe.
yeah.
The judge, not in a robe on a Zoom call. Although that's happened as well. The second thing, that I think that we've been working on is I've become a Supreme Court trained mediator.
Right.
I've had probably over 70 hours now of different continuing education hours on handling mortgage foreclosure mediations, eviction mediations, and of course, domestic relations mediations, including training on screening for domestic violence or family violence situations. As attorneys and frankly, as clients become more educated on the advantages of being able to negotiate your resolution to your case in a structured and fair way, they're going to want to see that because it's less time and less stress than having to argue to a judge over every single tchotchke in your house. And frankly, it's better on the kids if mom and dad can quickly move into that position where they are a united front for raising the kids and simply allocating the parenting time and responsibilities in a way that is equitable. Not always equal, but certainly equitable. It's fair on everyone.
Okay. Excellent. What drives each of your passions for balancing your legal practice, community service, and family life? And part two, how do you manage to excel in various roles?
I suppose
Our family lives are also different.
we're at different stages of life.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a really interesting question.
Because it's similar, because I've been where you've been, where I was sharing parenting with my kid and had a new family. And in part, I don't know how I did it. And part of it was I think I constantly asked the question, how am I going to continue to balance? And you have to compartmentalize, you have to chunk your time. And sometimes you have to serve two masters at once. I do a fair amount of work from home for the first couple hours, from about 6:30 to roughly 7:30, even 6 o'clock to 7:30. I'm pretty much working, getting things ready for the day at home. And then likewise, later on in the evening, there may be some additional time I'm putting in. And that frees me to be available when I need to for other matters. And luckily, we're very flexible. It's not a matter of you have to be chained to your desk. It's mostly being available and present.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the first part of the question was what? Sorry, say it again.
What drives your passion, I should say, for balancing your legal practice, community service, and family life is the first.
Yeah.
Yes. And the second part, how do you manage to excel
Yeah.
in various roles?
Okay. What drives me is I have to be able to provide for my family at a very basic level.
Yeah, I like to eat too.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to meet a certain basic limit. I got to work. But I listened to a podcast, I don't even remember which one it was, that said, there's no balance. When you're at work, you're at work. You're present at work and you're all in 100% at work. When you're at home, you're present at home and you're all in 100% at home.
So,
Now, yeah, there's no, we don't have this, at least not in my mind. That's not how I've been operating the last 13 years. I'm committed to my career, and that comes with certain things. It comes with me being 100% committed at work. It comes with, then, if I'm at a practice or a game or whatever I'm doing with my family at that time, I'm 100% there. And I'm not saying, yeah, okay, kid. Yeah. And I'm looking at my emails, because there's no mixing the two. I won't say never. I do. I have to, like Todd said. And the other key, two more points, I think, to how to manage that is non-traditional work hours do help. Having the ability to work at home helps me be, when the kids are not there and I'm not doing anything with the family at that time after they go to bed or before they wake up in the morning, I can be 100% focused on work at that time. The other key part for me anyway is having a great partner. My spouse is a stay-at-home dad, and that frees me to be 100% committed at work for longer and earlier than I otherwise would be able to do. I'm very lucky.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. It doesn't happen without him.
Right.
It really doesn't. We would not be in the position that we're in without him. So
Awesome. Awesome.
he's really gonna want to hear this. You talk good about me.
Right.
Pat myself on the back.
How do you each define success?
Oh, for me, it's not multi-million dollar just for me. If I can keep a roof over my kid's head and maybe send them to college, maybe, then I'm good. If my clients are happy and my clients say, Jamie was so great, mom, sister, friend, you got to go see her because she's great. That's success to me.
Yeah. Leaving stuff better than when it found you or you found it.
Excellent.
We're all stewards. It comes back to what drives me. Things that drive me professionally are the same things that I think drive my whatever pieces of volunteerism I have. Is I like serving others. I like being part of something that's bigger than myself, and that gives me a lot of pleasure and a lot of energy. And it's great if I can find things were better for my having been part of it.
Excellent. Yeah. Good answer. It's a good one. Is there anything you wish to share that we haven't talked about?
Not me.
No, not that I can think of. I'll let you know about 5 minutes after this is done.
Okay. With the success that each of you have achieved, what is your biggest challenge in that process? What do you think it's been?
For me, it's always staying out of my own way.
Biggest challenge. Yeah, for me, it's just been, again, I think, finding the right tools for the right job.
Okay.
Or for the particular job, fitting people where they are best, their strengths are best used and utilized. We've done a pretty good job of that so far,
Okay.
I think.
We'll keep up the work.
Yes, and I can't say how happy we are.
Good one.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge.
I'm pretty much out of questions. Obviously, your contact information is at the bottom of the screen, but where can our audience go to learn more about you?
Our website, it's aghattorneys.com. That has all of our bios and our location. All of our attorneys are listed on there. And I think our staff are listed on there too. Our LinkedIn profiles are out there as well. But I think I don't like social media. That is not my thing. So I'm not on Facebook or anything other than LinkedIn. So that'd be a primary place for me.
And we're about out of time here. So I want to thank you both for being on today. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a couple things that I didn't know before I got up this morning. And I thank you for that. Again, I'm Terry DuPont, your host, and this has been another episode of Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success.
This has been the Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success podcast. If you have questions about creating tax-free wealth and income, forward-looking tax mitigation, strategic risk mitigation, wealth preservation and legacy planning, and advanced financial management, go to DuPontAdvisory.com or email Terry@DuPontAdvisory.com.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.